Hey guys, it's Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Tonight's video I want to make on how to get to a point where you can run a 4 hour and 30-minute marathon. Now, the same principles, the same strategies I teach regardless if you're trying to break a 3 hour marathon. I talk about this in depth in the sub 3 hour marathon pro course, also as well in the sub 4 hour marathon mastery course that I've created on RunDreamAchieve.com. If you're interested in either of those courses, definitely look in the description of this video, below this video, and you can take a look at that. But the same principles are the same for running a 4 hour 30-minute marathon as they are for a sub 3 hour marathon, a sub 4 hour marathon, or a sub 2:30 marathon. You have got to get to a point where race pace is manageable. It's not stressed. You're not you're not 3 to 10 miles into the race feeling like, hey, I don't know if I can finish the race. A 4:30 marathon, that comes out to an average of 10 minutes and 18 seconds per mile. So you have to get to a point where you're training, you're training below 9-minute mile pace. You're getting on the track and you're running your intervals, whether they be at repeat 400s, repeat Ks, repeat miles at around 8-minute to 9-minute mile pace. That's the real secret into running fast over 26.2 miles and getting to a point where you can sustain that race pace for long periods of time. I mean, it's totally normal to feel fatigued when you get to about mile 20, mile 18 to mile 20. Really that last 10K is the mental piece of the race. You really have to, dig down deep and, definitely have practiced training at 10, 18 mile pace or faster in training prior to getting to the race, where you can get to that point in the marathon and be able to really pick it up and not slow down that last 10K. That's why I really talk about how critical your hydration practices are in training. Are you putting your water bottles out during your long runs? Are you practicing ingesting those calories? Either taking a packet of goo or two, during your training runs. Because a big mistake a lot of marathoners make, and I've made them as well in my past, is not hydrating well enough during the race and not taking in enough calories. I mean, obviously, a lot of athletes feel like they'll lose a little bit of time stopping at to grab a cup of water or water bottle for a few seconds, or just grabbing one of those fluid drinks off the tables, in a race, or grabbing one from a volunteer. You absolutely must drink. And a big mistake that I made, obviously we love talking about our successes, but I tell you what, I've made a lot of mistakes in the marathon distance myself. I didn't just get to 2:19, and I only broke 2:20 one time. Okay, I ran 2:19 back in 2007, so it's crazy, but it's been, it's going on 12 years, almost 12 years since I ran that time. So, but I've experienced, I've run enough marathons to know what works and what doesn't. And one of the biggest reasons I was able to improve from a 2:43 marathoner to a 2:19 was definitely practicing, taking in enough fluid, taking enough calories during the race and during training. And definitely practicing race pace and training far below it. When I was a 2:43 marathon, I was trying to, get to a point where I could go from running 6:14 mile pace for 26.2 miles to 5:25 mile pace. And in your case, you're trying to break 4 hours and 30 minutes for the marathon. You have to average 10:18 per mile for 26.2 miles. So a lot of your miles are going to be faster than 10:18. Some of them are going to be a little bit slower. So what do you need to do? How long will it take you to run a 4:30 marathon? That's a big question I get from a lot of my readers is, do you think I can run this specific time in this, a few months down the road? Is it possible to do that? And my answer always is yes, it is possible to do it, but it's hard to know exactly where an athlete is. I definitely coach athletes through online, usually by consultation calls. I'm still working on a few other ideas for RunDreamAchieve.com, possibly a membership site where I can, have weekly interactions with athletes and to see it, to give more training advice on a weekly basis. But I do a lot of postings as well, and I just started this YouTube channel back in was it January of this year. So I haven't really been on YouTube that long, but for a lot of years I just wrote posts. But what I love to do is really drill down and find out exactly where an athlete is in their preparation, and to give them a proper outline so that they can get to a point where they can make those big jumps in the marathon distance and get those huge PRs that everybody wants. But in the marathon, there's a lot of ebbs and flows. You'll have good days, you'll have some days in training where you feel like crap, and you'll start to second guess yourself and wonder if you're doing everything correctly, or maybe you might start to doubt yourself and think either maybe I don't have what it takes, or maybe my best running is in my past. And that's not always the case. It's just a matter of changing up what you're doing in training and starting to use leverage. The hardest working marathoners don't always get the best results, and this idea of running more mileage doesn't always work either. I'm a perfect example. I share my experiences all the time, successes and failures. But I got up to 142 miles a week, and when I was trying to break a 2 hour 19 minute marathon, and it just left me fatigued. I was irritable. I wasn't getting the results. And so I dropped my mileage down to around 85 to 90 miles a week, and I started running, better times. I set a half marathon PR of 107.06, and I ended up breaking 220 for the marathon. So what I love to do is just to share those experiences with you, because I know maybe you're at like 5 hours and 10 minutes right now. Maybe you're at 4 hours and 45 minutes, but you're trying to get to that point where, what do I need to do to go from this time to a 4:30 marathon time, a 4 hour and 30 minute marathon time? So really, like I said, practice often. Get to a point, practice a lot during your long runs, training at a portion of those long runs at around 9:30 to 9:45 pace. So you're getting accustomed to running under 10:18 mile pace. That's your goal marathon pace. That's what you need to run for 26.2 miles. So spending more time at a higher heart rate during your long runs for an extended amount of time. Obviously, as you get fitter and fitter and fitter, you're going to be able to run longer. You're going to be able to hold that heart rate at preferably around 160 beats per minute during your long runs. That's around 85% of your maximum heart rate. I also stress to athletes online, do not run hard every single weekend for your long runs. It's a great way to get stale, and your body, you're pushing your body very, very hard, so you have to back off and you have to allow yourself time to recover from those hard efforts. So I always alternate. This is how I train. This is just me, but it definitely has worked. Like I said, I dropped from 243 to 219. That's a massive drop in time, and it can work for anybody, whether you're a 5:30 marathoner trying to get to 4:30, or you're a 4:30 marathon trying to break 4 hours. The name of the game is getting the body in such a fitness, in such a what am I trying to say? The best fitness level you can, to get to a point where you're clearing lactic acid faster than it's building up in your bloodstream. And unfortunately, that physiological effect doesn't really always happen. It doesn't ever really happen by running easy mileage. Easy running is critical when you're recovering from either a hard track session. You got on the track and you did 6 by a mile at, say, like 9:25 mile pace per rep. You had like a 2-minute rest in between, or you were doing repeat 16 times 200-meter reps on the track. Those types of workouts are your aerobic capacity type workouts, where your heart rate is almost at your maximum heart rate, around 175 beats or higher. The real key to running successfully and more effectively at the marathon is training at your anaerobic threshold, and that's usually around. It depends on everybody's a little bit different, but usually it's around 165 beats to 174 beats per minute. If you're wearing a heart rate monitor, if you're not wearing a heart rate monitor, I started training with heart rate monitors back in 1996 during my first year in college. Jack Hazen, one of the best distance running coaches in the world, was my coach for 5 years when I was at Malone University in Canton, Ohio, and he kind of got me started on it. I've been doing heart rate training ever since for marathon, obviously, and the other distances. But you want to train at that anaerobic threshold because that's the point, right at the point where your body starts to build up lactic acid. So running faster at a higher heart rate for a longer period of time increases your lactate tolerance. So you're able to, and that's why all the best marathoners that you see, all these runners that are running 4:30 for the marathon or faster, they're doing it for a reason. They've trained themselves in such a way that 10-18 mile pace is not only, it's not as demanding as it would be otherwise. Obviously, you can be doing 50 to 90 miles a week, but if like 10% of that mileage is run at 12 to 13 minute mile pace, it's going to be very difficult for you to go out and sustain 26.2 miles at 10-18 mile pace. So it's not if you haven't hit the time yet, it's not a matter of you not having the capability or you being too old, things like that. It really comes down to, one, what percentage of your weekly mileage are you training at, near, or far below 10-18 mile pace? That's the thing you got to ask yourself. The biggest reason why I was able to break 220 is I spent obviously a lot of time training around 520 pace, and then obviously doing mile repeats at like 445 to 450 mile pace. So obviously that's much faster than what I was trying to hold for the marathon. And it got to a point where I hit a perfect taper, and that's what's really important for you to break a 4:30 marathon as well. Obviously, it's a mixture of a lot of different things that you got to do right. But if you taper correctly, which I always recommend a 10-day taper. There are some athletes that go out 3 weeks. I've tried that numerous times and always felt lethargic. I felt like I started my taper too soon. But if you drop your mileage, drop your volume, and you continue to hold that intensity, but you drop your volume, your body's gonna obviously be much more rested. In a 10-day taper, I'm telling you, this is what I teach in the sub 3 marathon course, sub 3 hour marathon pro course, and the sub 4 hour marathon mastery course. I have a training program, obviously videos, and a step-by-step process of how to get under the 3 and 4 hour marathon barriers. And you're right in that happy spot. You're at 4:30, 4 hours and 30 minutes right now, or you're close to it. So a lot of the same principles I teach in the sub 4 hour marathon mastery course are really, really important. So if it's something that if this is really something you're fully committed to doing, I'd highly recommend checking out the sub 4 hour marathon mastery course. And I'll leave the link in the description of this video as well. Just take a look at it. If it's of interest to you, I would definitely recommend checking it out, because I really pour everything that I know, pretty much, that I've been taught about the marathon in those courses. But I'm telling you, just as somebody that's been through the ups and downs of training for a marathon, the key thing is training your lactic tolerance, is training your body to clear lactic acid. That's one of the biggest hindrances when it comes to for a lot of marathoners, is why do I keep why can I hold my goal marathon pace for 14 miles, but I get to 15 and I just fall apart. And if you're at that stage where you're trying to run the latter stage of the race more economically or more efficiently, then it's just a matter of changing up your strategy. If you're obviously you got to look at your logs and look at how you've been training in the past, and if you keep slowing down in the race, or there's something, maybe it's something psychological. The mental piece of training is very, very huge. I visualized usually it was about 30 minutes to an hour each day for 5 years, pretty much. From 2002, that was where I ran my debut marathon at the New York City Marathon. I was a part of a lung cancer research armed forces team, and we started in last place. We weren't allowed to start until all the starters crossed the start line, and then we were permitted to start the race. And for every runner that we passed, Chase Manhattan Bank was donating $1 to lung cancer research. So we started in 32,189th place, dead last, and got to a point where we all did really well. I finished as the team's top finisher in 257th place. I ran 2:43.36. So I understand, and I never thought of myself as a marathon runner either. But over those 5 years, with all the trial and error, I learned what was I doing that wasn't getting me the results. And a lot of the reason was, the biggest reason was I was running too slow during my long runs. Here it is. And the same with you, or same with any athlete that's trying to improve. You've got to get, especially with the marathon distance, you've got to get to a point where your long runs on the weekends aren't just leisurely jogs. You're going out for 20 to 24 miles, or maybe you're doing like 15 to 18 miles. But if it's just a long, slow, endurance run, obviously you're going to build a lot of fitness. You're going to build endurance. But when it comes to racing 26.2 miles and breaking a 4 hour and 30-minute marathon, you've got to change up how you're running those long runs. I always tell athletes in my posts and in these videos to alternate one weekend where you're running longer and faster, and then follow up the next weekend and do that run long and easy. So there is a place for long, easy, long runs, but it's all about adaptation and giving yourself rest and backing off when you have to back off. We're all highly competitive, but sometimes it takes just as much discipline to back off and slow down on those recovery days as it does, obviously, to get on the track and to do those hard tempos, anaerobic workouts, and those aerobic capacity workouts where you're stretching your heart. Your heart rate's spiked up to over 170 beats per minute, 175 beats per minute up. So yeah, those are really, really important things. And be patient with yourself. Don't expect a 4:30 marathon is very, very competitive, and you can drop a lot of time in the marathon if you get it right, and if you don't lose the enthusiasm. During your training and during those times where you go out and you do like a 10K or you do a half marathon, and maybe you don't hit the time that you want, just keep going, keep putting in the miles, and eventually your body's going to get to a point where it's just you've done everything right in training, you've tapered correctly, and you can get to a race where you hit that peak stage where you're in a flow state. And I can tell you right now, in Sacramento in 2007, I was in a flow state. I tried to, for literally 10 years, from 2007 to 2017, trying to break 2 hours and 19 minutes. And I didn't realize how incredible a race that was that morning. So, but you can always improve. You can always work on your speed. I talk about strides where you're doing, 50 to 100 meter strides during your weekly training. You can do those like 3 days a week. They're not going to build up any lactic acid, but you can really, work those fast twitch muscle fibers. You can work on your leg speed even during those strides, and that's on top of all of your other weekly workouts. The track sessions, the tempo runs, the long runs. All that stuff counts. Definitely research this. I never knew about it until 2013. Research as much as you can about glutathione. This is the body's master antioxidant. I guarantee you can go up to most distance runners you'll ever come across. If you ask them about glutathione, they won't know. I didn't know, and I have an undergraduate degree in exercise physiology. I have a master's degree in sport administration. I've studied this over the years: exercise physiology, kinesiology, anatomy and physiology, and I had never heard of it either. But it's another training tip I can provide to you. I'll leave a few links below in the description as well, of some articles that I've written about glutathione and what it does and its main role in the body. Basically, it's to detoxify the body. And every cell of our body produces it, but as we age, our bodies produce less and less of it. But when it comes to marathon running and endurance athletics, glutathione is absolutely critical. And I'm telling you, if you want to go from a 5-hour marathon to a 4:30 marathon, or if you're real close to that right now, I would highly recommend reading those posts that I've written as well about glutathione. So I hope this video has been helpful. I know there's a lot of information when it comes to uh, out there about marathon training, but I try to share as much as I can about my own experiences. And if there's something that I missed in this video, there's something specific that you have in mind or a question you have about getting to a point where you're finally getting under 4:30 or you're getting real close to 4 hours and 30 minutes for the marathon, feel free to leave a comment and a question below and let me know, and I'll create another video and follow up on that video for you. I always do that with people that leave comments here on my videos and my other subscribers. So what your input is very, very important to me, and that's the overall goal at this point. Absolutely love helping other athletes get to the next level. So with that, have a great evening, and let me know how your training's going. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well. That way, anytime I make a new video, you'll get you'll get an automatic notification that a new video was created. So really appreciate you stopping by RunDreamAchieve.com and the YouTube channel as well. And like I said, definitely check out the links in the description if you're really, you're at that point where you want to get to 4 hours and 30 minutes, or you're trying to break 4 hours, or trying to break 3 hours for the marathon. I'll put both the links there as well. So you can just take a look at it, and hope you have a great evening and continue training hard, and keep me posted on how your workouts are going and how your racing's going. Take care.